Woo! And today fits in perfectly with a very simple talk, or. So I'm going to begin with a story. Years ago, there was a lady who was here at this church from the very beginning. Her name was Kay Labby. Some of you remember Kay Labby. She is now in spirit. She's been in spirit now for about 4 or 5 years. This lady was very graceful. She didn't pass away until she was 94 years old. A great testament also to this teaching, she would say. She was literally here the night that this church was dedicated, when Ernest Holmes himself gave the dedication address. And she saw him have his illumination experience. And this woman grew up in this church. Well, she was an adult, but she grew up in her mature self with this philosophy under her belt. And she was very, very grounded in it. And she was also very simple about it, which I loved. She was graceful about it. So the story is this. Afton, who gave me permission to tell the story, whom I don't see here today. A lot of you know who Afton is. Afton was a friend and caregiver to Kay toward the last few years of Kay's life. And that often meant that Afton was driving Kay to an appointment or to the grocery store, some such place. And this is how Afton tells the story. So they'd be in the car, and Afton would be the one driving, which means Kay is right there. Afton would be driving, and something would be happening that day that made her complain, and she said, I would be in a good rant about why this happened, and how did they do this, and da, 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 da. And she'd go on and on and on, and she said, and Kay would just listen. And as soon as, when Afton finally finished the rant, Kay would go, or, pat her on the leg. She said she'd just pat me on the leg and say, or. That's it. There's a profound lesson in that, isn't there? And so I decided to take that profound lesson and expand on it just a little bit for the rest of this talk. But really that says so much, because our minds can just kind of take the rest of it. Those of us who have been around a long time can come up here and share this talk with me. Or, there is always another way to look at something. Our perception is so important to the kind of life we live. And I'm assuming that everybody here wants to live a wonderful life. Because you're not the people wanting to hear that you are the worm of the earth and you're going to suffer an H-E-L-L for the rest of your life. You're the kind of people who want to live an uplifted life because you're here, and this is what we do. We talk about how we can uplift and live a most wonderful, wonderful life. And so with that idea of our perception is creating, and very, very important to that wonderful life. If we can just take the one statement that there are so many more possibilities than we sometimes think. But like the horses that get the little blinders put on the outside so that they don't get spooked, we often do the same thing. For us, it's not so much so they don't get spooked, it's because we think we've got it all figured out. We think that what we see in this little funnel is all that there is. Sometimes forgetting to go, oh yeah, there are so many more options than what we see. Matter of fact, what we see and perceive often says a whole lot more about ourselves than what we're actually looking at. This is the really, really good news when you see things mostly good. But it's kind of the oh news when you realize that you see things as kind of bad. But the really good news is you can change your perception. Okay? So check in with yourself. Yeah, you know what? You have a pretty rosy outlook of life. Yay! That means you have a pretty rosy outlook from the inside. So what you're looking through. Our perceptions have so much to do with what we see. But we can change our perception. So no matter where you're at, it can be better. We can become a better me. Even if you're a person who does already think, yeah, I look at the world as pretty good. My glass is more than half full. You can even get better at it. I don't know about you, but sometimes I can make up stories. Can you? Sometimes I can fill in the blanks, even when they're not there. Can you? Sometimes I take something out of context. Do you? Sometimes I assign meaning to what was said. You? Okay, Okay, good. Yeah, it's a human thing, right? We all do. We think we know what somebody is saying, or we think we know what the situation means, but we are attaching so much meaning. It takes awareness to notice that I've just attached that meaning. I've just filled in those blanks. But are we always accurate? No, we're not. And that's okay. We're human. It's okay to say, you know what, I misunderstood that. You know how freeing it is to say that? I misunderstood that, I'm sorry. Or, let me try to explain that again. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with going back and saying it again. And let me try again, and let me try again. Matter of fact, I think it's a loving thing to do. When we try again. But we don't have to have it all figured out. It might mean this, or it might mean that. Let me check this out. So, knowing that we fill in the blanks, and knowing that we take things out of context, and knowing that we assign our own meaning, the very next thought I had about that was these two wonderful ideas from Don Miguel Ruiz in his book, The Four Agreements. I know I've talked about this book before. I know many of you have read it. It's a really good pocket handbook. He has 4 agreements. The 2 in the middle are my 2 favorite when I'm dealing with the world, people, situations. Don't take anything personal. Ooh, and don't make assumptions. So all of those things about filling in the blanks and taking things out of context and assigning meaning, aren't those assumptions? They are. So if we're not to make assumptions and we're not to take anything personal, wow, those are very good guidelines. And every time I stop and reflect, oh, am I making an assumption here? Have I checked this out? Every time I stop, every time you stop and ask the question and reflect on, am I filling in the blanks or do I have all the information I need in this particular situation? We now increase our awareness. And when we increase our awareness, we move into the better me. Just by increasing our awareness. Now take in with that idea of not making assumptions and not taking things personal. Ernest Holmes, our founder, says, the universe is never against us. It is only for us. Put that together with don't take it personal. Put that together with don't make assumptions. Because often what we humans do is we make an assumption that's negative. We make an assumption that pulls us down. We make an assumption that says somebody did that to me on purpose. How could you do that? Anybody ever said that? How could you possibly do that? If I know that this universe is not against me, universe is just another name for God if you're new here. When we talk about universe, we don't just mean the stars and the planets. We mean the one voice, God, Spirit, is never against us. Some of us have to wrangle our old thinking and get our minds out of that old way of thinking that says somehow God is against you and God is going to get you if you don't do it right. This philosophy has none of that. We say God created you in His image and likeness and God is only for your growth all the time. So the old mindset that somehow God might be against you has to be flushed down the toilet. Again and again and again and again and again. So if God is for me, if the universe is for me, then I have the option right then and there. When I realize I'm making an assumption, am I making it mean something negative? I have that moment to say, wait a minute, there's nothing against me here. And I now can use this as a teachable moment. Because in that whole thing of possibilities, there must be the possibility for me to learn something. Isn't that much more free than like, why is this happening to me? It's a victim. And we don't want to be victims. We want to pull ourselves up out of that victim mode and say something else is possible for me here. Or, so I can say the universe is against me, or the universe is for me. This person is doing this to me, or maybe there's something for me to learn here. Putting the word or keeps our minds open to those teachable moments. And you and I are responsible for that growth. I love the idea that we're responsible, but sometimes it's a little tricky. We are responsible for our own upliftment in some way, shape, or form. And then we come here to places like this where we have each other and say, remind me again that I'm a child of God. Remind me again that I can look at this differently. Remind me again that I'm on my way and doing okay. We come together